through Spath and his recent experience under the pyramids with the crucifixion tools, more and more information about the life of Jesus Christ and religion. And she begins to explain to him a little bit about what creation is. And she just gives a few explanations here. She says, the universe, what we call a universe, this large thing full of planets, galaxies, and nebula and all sorts of things, they call it creation because they regard it as a living thing, as an evolving thing. And she explains that he will become more and more knowledgeable about this, but she wanted to explain to him that the creation itself embodies the entire life of all living things in the universe. It is responsible for the existence of all things, including that which we call gods and all other forms of life forms. There is a creational force. The universe itself, then, is alive. It is an evolving form of energy. That originally the creation had the idea to create a universe, and it did. That idea then embodied all of the information that was necessary for that idea to expand and evolve into matter, which became the planets and all the galaxies, the universe we were in. So the creation actually is the life force and is responsible for all existence in the universe. And this is one of the main things, information that's missing on our planet, and that they really wanted to start teaching Billy because this would be an important part of his mission. She explains at that point that that was also the mission of Emmanuel during his time, that he was trying to explain to people about what creation is and about how life procreates and evolves throughout the universe, but they weren't really able to understand it, and most of the time they misinterpreted it. And that in the year 189, when Christianity would actually be formed, it would be somewhat altered in order to form Christianity. Nothing particularly malicious, I don't believe. They probably just did the best they could at actually understanding it. She also mentioned that it had been for 33 centuries that she and her people had been coming into our universe. She explained that she actually was not from our universe, that there was a neighboring universe they called the Tao universe, and that her race of people were called Timmers. Her planet that she came from was called Akon, A-K-O-N, and that for many years they've been coming into our universe. There are technologies that provided a way that they were able to build some sort of barrier or a canal or a cave, whatever you want to call it, that allowed them to come from their universe into ours. They'd been exploring for some period of time. They had found their way into the area of the Earth and finding human people here as well as on many other planets, and were involved in just as explorers and experimenting into our universe. She had also discovered long ago that the Earth people here on Earth did not originate here. And this led them to following or tracking down the origin of the Earth people, and it led them into the Ring Nebula of Lyra, which was the original home of the Earth human being. We've touched a little bit on this on our history thing that we talked about earlier, that roughly two-thirds of the white race of the planet Earth has Lyrian genetics in them, that we are from Lyra. So that was also mentioned. She mentioned that the Lyrians now were gone, that they had, through destruction and wars and natural events, pretty much become extinct, that there were very few of them left. Most of the Lyrians, 230,000 years back, during a very violent war, had left that section of the sky and founded what we now call the Pleiades. And that in Billy's future, remember he's only 19 at this time, Edward, that in Edward's future, he would have contacts with these beings from the Pleiadians, but not for quite some time, that he was actually being prepared for that now. That Edward had been born on purpose in 1937 because he was a prophet, that he had served in that role many times before in other lifetimes, that prophets are born on purpose for particular missions, and they are generally procreated or caused to be born at particular times to serve their role as a prophet. Such was the case with young Edward. This is exactly why he had been born and why he was going through these series of contacts young in his life to prepare him for his role later in life to spread the word as a truth bearer. She also mentioned to him that it's a very difficult life. It's a very hard life, that a prophet is responsible for the truth, for bringing new truths to a society. And this often is quite difficult because many people are quite set in their ways and they really don't want to believe something else. So he could look forward to a very difficult life in front of him. She also mentioned to him that in the future he's going to write a wonderful book and it will be based on some telepathic transmissions provided by these Plejadians that he's going to have contact with later in his life. This entity will be called Arahat Athrasata, and it is the very same entity that Emmanuel was put in touch with 2,000 years ago when he learned his lessons of life. Out of this, he will write a very great book of truth, and this book could go on possibly to become a major epic to begin the new age with, as it will open up minds all over the planet and bring the truth about existence finally to the world of Earth. She commented again here that the truth really is not subject to change, that there are real laws in creation. When creation had the idea to create the universe, there were fixed laws involved with this. So the creation itself has purpose. It has total logic to it. There are reasons for things that we just don't understand. And this logic and this reasoning forms the basis for what they're calling the laws of creation. And she says, these laws of creation, Billy, will be made more and more aware of, but people should know that they're not changeable. Even though we may get off on a tangent making up our own rules of society or whatever, that eventually, in order for us to evolve, we must come back to the true laws of creation, or else we would just be spiritually stagnant. That evolution really would not be possible. Many, many, many races have ignored the laws of creation, become too materialistic, too warlike, and it ended up just degenerating their society and being self-destructed because of war. The true evolution is only attained through discovering knowledge and living by the laws of creation itself. Next thing she mentioned was something kind of interesting, that we know in our solar system that we are taught that we have 9 planets, and we have an asteroid belt. She says that asteroid belt used to be a planet called Milana, that there were inhabitants, Lyrian inhabitants on that years ago, and that they came to a war, and they destructed their whole planet and blew it up. When they did that, that planet used to be between the planet Earth and Mars, and when the planet blew up, and all of it formed the debris which now forms the asteroid belt, it actually pushed Mars out of the orbit that it was in, causing life on Mars to be ended. It threw the planet Mars out of its orbit and caused Mars to be in a shorter, closer orbit to the Sun than it used to be in. So this is one of the reasons there's no atmosphere on Mars at the moment, and where all the people were killed. Apparently the planet was violently thrown out of its orbit, and when that happened, all the life that was on the planet was thrown off of it out into free space, and the atmosphere disappeared, and all life on Mars ended. After that, there were only sporadic expeditions to Mars, and ETs occasionally keep equipment and so forth there. But at one time there was life on Mars, and there was life on the planet Milana, which is now gone. She says one of the things that, one of the main reasons that she is here on Earth is they had noticed that the scientists of Earth were coming very close to finding and discovering the answers to atoms and develop bombs and what they called destructive devices, which could lead very much to the same end. And that the particular position that the Earth and our solar system was in right now, it could be very dangerous to our whole galaxy and maybe even this part of the universe if we were to destruct the planet accidentally before 1974. For some reason, she was very clear that there was a clear and present danger of us blowing up our planet and causing major damage to the universe up through the year 1974, and it was her particular mission to come monitor the scientists of our planet and very carefully make sure that this did not happen. Along with the rest of her mission was to help guide and teach Billy many things, so his mission